The Kansas City Chiefs shockingly fell to the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday afternoon, 20-17. No need to go over the graphic and gory details. You all saw the game and probably wished you didn't. But the Colts got their first win. The Chiefs got their first loss. Kansas City does remain atop the AFC West. And the big picture is the Chiefs are fine. But if you look deeper into that picture, there are some things that concern you moving forward. And look, as bad as the special teams were on Sunday, I don't think that's a cause for long-term concern. They're going to get Harrison Butker back soon, maybe even this coming week. Dave Tope is a very good special teams coordinator, and Sky Moore is not going to muff a punt every week. That is not going to be a theme over and over and over. What has been a theme over and over and over the course of the last handful of years is sometimes the Chiefs not looking prepared offensively, not looking like they have a coherent game plan. And that falls on Andy Reid. People too often mislabel that as an Eric Bieniemy problem. That is not an Eric Bieniemy problem because Eric Bieniemy does not have control of that offense. That is Andy Reid. Andy Reid, more than Patrick Mahomes, far more than Bieniemy, is the one who's calling the shots at one Arrowhead Drive. And so when they succeed, Andy Reid should get a lot of the credit. And when they fail, he should get a lot of the blame. And on Sunday, look, there's a lot of blame to go around. The special teams was terrible. Chris Jones' penalty at the end of the game. But the offense, to me, is where the blame lies the most. And the reason that is because the special teams you knew were not going to be particularly good on Sunday. Now, they were way worse than you could have ever imagined. But the Chiefs are relying on two rookie return men in Isaiah Pacheco and Sky Moore. Mistakes were bound to happen, and they happened in bunches on Sunday. Matt Amendola is a terrible kicker. That's on the Chiefs front office for bringing him in. And it's also on Andy Reid for being able to say, hey, look, we feel confident enough for him to be on the roster. Andy's got a lot of say in that as well. Okay? He was fine against the Chargers. He did his job. He did not do his job against the Colts. And the second he missed an extra point at the beginning of the game, the Chiefs had no confidence in him the rest of the way. They went for two at one point, and they ran a fake field goal that was doomed from the second they snapped the ball. But to me, more than anything else, it falls on the offense because the offense is a bunch of highly paid, highly talented players who failed at their jobs. And while it also falls on the players, of course, for their execution or lack thereof, it falls very much so on Andy Reid. Look, they played a Colts team that they knew what they were going to do defensively. You knew they were going to rush four. They weren't going to blitz. They were going to play a lot of cover three behind that four-man rush. And that's what they did. The film is not out yet as we record this on a Monday morning, but just watching the game yesterday, it was evident, very evident. The Colts did a lot of what they normally do. There was nothing special. There were no real bells and whistles. There was a little change up here and there, but that's true in any NFL game. The Colts gave you what you knew they were going to give you, and the Chiefs failed to execute anyway. Patrick Mahomes was 20 of 35 for 262 yards, and frankly, those numbers sound better than he played. There were missed shots to Marquez Valdez-Scantling. There were underthrows. There were throws at times that he has to have that he didn't have. But there were also drops. Justin Watson dropped the first down pass. Wasn't the easiest pass in the world to catch, but he should have caught it. Travis Kelce dropped the ball in the end zone. He catches 99 times out of 100. Hit him right in his hands. Drops the ball. If the Chiefs score there, they win the game. Instead, it falls incomplete. But Kansas City failed to execute. They were 3 of 10 on third down. That's not going to get it done. 5.2 yards per play. That's terrible. And again, while there are execution issues, it's also a coaching issue. And this is where I get into it with Andy Reid. Look, you knew how you were going to be played. And it showed on a drive that might go a little forgotten in the game, but I think really was indicative of how the game was played by the Chiefs. They actually scored on the drive. They went 15 plays to go 62 yards. The drive took 7 minutes and 4 seconds. They're up 14-10 out of half. The Chiefs get the ball. They immediately take a penalty right away. They're 1st and 15 because Orlando Brown takes a false start penalty before anything even gets wrong. But they bail themselves out of it. 11 to Smith-Schuster. And then a play that was really, really, really important to me in this game. 2nd and 4, Chiefs on their own 37. They run a screen pass to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, gain 16 yards. First down. Why is that important? Because in week 2, when Jacksonville beat Indianapolis, they screenplayed them to death. The Jaguars, who also have very good receiving backs in Travis Etienne and James Robinson, decided, hey, We're going to take all this stuff underneath and we're going to run screen passes. They killed the Colts doing it. The Chiefs have 3 running backs who can all catch the ball, Pacheco, McKinnon, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They ran 1 screenplay the entire game. Didn't run a bubble screen all day long. Didn't run a traditional screen all day long. Nothing. They ran 1 screen. And it went for 16 yards in first down, and they never ran another one. Also, their run game, again, was terrible yesterday. If you take out Mahomes' 4 scrambles for 26 yards, the longest run they had all day was for 6 yards. They ran the ball designed for a running back 17 times in the game. They gained 29 yards. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had one of the worst stat lines you'll ever see in your life. 7 carries for 0 yards. And again, part of that is on the players. The offensive line has to be better. They've got to run to daylight better. We all understand this. Anyone who's watched the Chiefs understands that sometimes their running backs have the vision of Ray Charles. Okay, everybody understands that. But the Chiefs have a talented offensive line. Part of the reason they're struggling is how predictable the Chiefs are. They don't run the ball. They never stick to it. And so if you're a pass rusher, you're just going to pin your ears back. What do you care if they run the ball 17 plays out of 60 or 70? You're not going to respect it. Why should you? The backs aren't particularly good, and the line is always in a pass blocking mode. They can't get any rhythm, the line or the backs. And again, this falls on coaching. You need to have an identity. You need to have a strength. And while their identity is never going to be running the football, ever, and it should not be with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, you need to have an identity when you're running the football. The Chiefs run the ball best when they have motion at the snap. That's when they run the ball best because teams have to respect their speed. Teams will move their alignments a little bit, and the Chiefs are good at designing those cutback runs. It helps your offensive line block a little bit. Look, this line is better suited to pass block than to run block, so help them out a little bit. Give them some angles to use. You can do that by moving defenders with motion. But the Chiefs refuse to do this. They will do it once in a blue moon, they'll gain 5 yards on the run, and they'll never do it again because they don't want to do that. They want to be a magic show. They're not a magic show because they don't have the same magicians anymore. They don't have Tyreek Hill. They don't have Sammy Watkins, who ran a 4.3 when he was healthy. Those guys are gone, and they're not coming back. The Chiefs have to run a West Coast-style offense with this team, and they don't want to do that. And until they do it, they're going to struggle offensively. The good news is they're 2-1. The bad news is the offense has stunk for each of the last 2 games, and they got bailed out because the Chargers DBs couldn't catch the ball, and Jalen Watson made one of the best plays you'll ever see from a 7th-round rookie. That's why they won against the Chargers. And by the way, that's fine. That's fine. Everything factors in. The Chiefs defense played really well in that game. They deserved to win that game because Jalen Watson made a great play and the Chargers didn't execute, and that's fine. There's no apologies here. You win the game, you lose the game. Whatever happens, that happens. Kansas City won a week ago. They lost to the Colts because they deserved to lose. And the shame if it was, it wasted a miraculous effort by the defense, which gave up an unbelievable 3.8 yards per play. And while the effort will remain thought of for Chris Jones and the penalty he took, their defense was phenomenal, but it wasn't good enough because the Chiefs weren't well coached enough in the game. If they took the plays underneath, if they designed the game plan to beat a specific opponent, Kansas City would have won that game by 17 points. And Matt Amendola wouldn't have been kicking field goals. He would have been trying extra points. But because of the way they coached this team at times, the Chiefs were left with a loss to a Colts team that is not all that good, that probably is going to win about 5 to 7 games. The Chiefs have a lot of work to do, and it starts with their head coach.